Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
We're starting off the agenda with probably the least important part, which is the opening remarks from the CETF director. So I'll try to make these very short since it's not about me, it's about, can everyone hear okay?
Now we can.
Yes? Okay. It helps to talk into the microphone, doesn't it? So anyway, welcome everyone. Really excited to see this group get together. CETF has been at this regional initiative really since the beginning. This was one of the first projects that we identified and one of the first that we kicked off. And I remember doing the first peer review of the, what was it, Redwood Coast effort, and I think there were about, 15 people in the room. And seeing a group of this size and all of you here, I think is very exciting to CETF as an organization and the board, because this is one of the signature initiatives of CETF. And I think the success that all of you are having, I think represents the fruits of a huge amount of work that we recognize. Most importantly, I heard yesterday the word collaboration over and over again. For this to succeed, it will have to be very strongly rooted in the grassroots of the community, very strongly rooted in all the key organizations that are in your regions, and the incredible amount of work that's gone into building that level of support in your regions, I think, is a great measure of success. The effort and what we're actually doing and what's happening on the ground has evolved in a lot of ways because of external developments. So when we started out, this was what I would call a pure bootstrapping effort. It was, okay, we've got a serious challenge in these regions with a lack of facilities, a lack of just basic access of there being facilities in these markets, which, is a very large economic issue, and it wasn't something that CETF was going to be able to solve with money. So we came up with the idea of demand aggregation, which was gathering information about demand in these markets and using that to drive deployment when, in fact, nobody in the room and nobody at CETF were the ones that were going to make the economic decisions and the investments. And so that effort, looked very promising, but it also prepared us for external developments, which then significantly changed what we were doing. So when the federal infrastructure grants became available, California was ready. Our regions were ready to a much greater extent than anywhere else in the country, I believe, because of the efforts of all the regional consortia. So they say, fortune favors the prepared. The work that we had done on demand aggregation differentiated our applications and the vendor applications for those funds, and I think they had a lot to do with why we received those funds. So we were able to take advantage of that because of the prior work. Now I think we're entering into a new phase. This effort has clearly expanded quite a bit. A lot of new people are involved. A lot of the regions are now at a fairly advanced stage of work. There was, different timing for the different regions, but I think we're kind of converging now on a really kind of common set of capabilities and hopefully, a common level of success. But the work isn't over. So like any kind of community-based organization, you just got to keep doing it. You've got to maintain the buy-in. Where you don't have it or where you have pockets of lack of buy-in, you need to go out and get it. And then we need to take what is now happening on the ground, so the middle mile projects, some of the additional infrastructure things that are happening in the grants, those have to succeed. And that's not going to happen on its own. These models, these business models, all telecom business models, and I know this from having been in startups as well as mature carriers, these models are tough. To make money on these kinds of facilities, to make money on these kinds of services, to make them economically self-sustaining is not easy. So we need to not just maintain what the organizations are doing, we need to now expand it to make sure that these carriers have the opportunity, the people who are building these facilities really have the opportunity to succeed, because that obviously is what's going to make a difference over the long run. So I'm really excited to see everybody in this room. I'm kind of amazed at kind of the sheer number and energy and all of that of what I saw yesterday, and I hope you'll make this a very good good working session. Sharing your best practices. How can we all help each other succeed rather than reinventing wheels? And I know this will be a great session, and I'll look forward to to hearing about it afterwards. And thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for hanging in there for a second day, everyone. We know it's a lot of time out of your schedules, and so we really appreciate all the time that you've given us these 2 days. I'm just going to go over quickly the agenda for today to give you a sense of a roadmap for the day. We'll get started with Luis and Joe in this next session with the Get Connected presentation. Next, we're going to break out into small groups, and that'll be groupings of, we'll figure out how many, but clusters in the room discussing the questions there. The next will be 2 presentations, one from Eric Brown regarding CTN and the latest there, and then Jim Dalgonis from CNIC regarding CNIC and some of the northeastern and upstate efforts and how that may tie in with your efforts, neighboring regional consortia in particular. Next will be a smart housing. Presentation from Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California, Peggy Lee, and she'll be joining us later today. And then at the lunch hour, we're going to ask you all to break into your regional consortia groups with your stakeholders and look at those questions there. And then last, we'll close the day with Commissioner Sandoval, Catherine Sandoval, who's one of the newer commissioners on the CPUC. And that's it. One of the things we're going to pick up from yesterday is the leadership questionnaire that Sunny spoke about early in the morning, and then she had to skip over. So we'd like you all to really fill these out and then hand them in at the end of the day. Right now, we're going to look at the bottom 3 questions, or the bottom 3 items, or the last item with three spaces for you to write down some answers. So we'd like to do that. And then we'll break in. Oh, and Raquel in the back has extra copies for those of you who may not have it in your packet anymore. So if you need a copy, please raise your hand and Raquel will come around and give it to you. So let me switch over to the slide. And then I'm going to hand the mic over to the Get Connected presentation, and then we'll come back after the presentation and go over your answers to that last item. Oh, there it is.
So it's zero sum.
Where'd it go? Did I close it?
Right, it's like, no harm, it's zero sum.
Okay.
I don't know what tree might come down last night, we had wind up there.
I'm just going to put it on yours. Because I remember. Or just the arrow up and down. So does everybody have the paper now? The worksheet, the leadership worksheet? So it's the last question at the bottom. What are the top 3 deliverables for focus in your regional consortium work plan as determined by your delegation during the workshop? So just put your your 3 answers there, their top 3 deliverables. Oh, okay. Hold on, ignore what I just said. It's actually in the middle section. What are the 3 to 5 characteristics of a leader? So I'm sorry about that. Again, it's the middle question. What are the 3 to 5 characteristics of a leader? So put your answers down now. We're going to go to the Get Connected presentation. We'll come back after they are done and go over those 3 to 5 answers that you have. We'll note them, and then we'll have a quick discussion about them. Thank you. This is, I should introduce. This is Joe Gross and Luis Arteaga. Joe Gross is with Sustainable Systems, and they are spearheading Get Connected initiative around the state. And so he will be in contact with you in the future, near future. And this is my colleague, Luis Arteaga.
Thank you, Gladys. Can you hear me back there in the back of the room? Sound good?
Yes.
Good morning, and welcome to everybody. And it really is an amazing assortment of individuals and regions throughout California. So welcome. And for those of you who know about Get Connected, this will be a little bit of a recap, maybe an update for you about the public awareness program. For those of you who are new to Get Connected and who are really struggling just to get the access part of it, this really may apply to you. It may not apply to you yet, but certainly once those lines get put in with all your great work, it'll turn to adoption. And certainly for the pent-up demand that exists in your region, that may not be an issue, but certainly reaching certain populations will. And so we have tons of resources and information to share with you as part of Get Connected. And so we're happy to provide that to you as well. So let me go ahead and introduce Get Connected to you. So Get Connected is a public awareness and education campaign that was started in 2008 by CETF. And it was really the first of its kind public education campaign that was trying to reach those who had not adopted broadband. And as you saw from Sunny's statistics, at the time, California was at 55% broadband adoption at home. In 2008, when this program first began, she mentioned that LA County, our largest county, one of the diverse counties in the state, was at 48%. And so it was really pivotal that we launched this public awareness campaign as a pilot in LA County, and really taking on LA County as the ground zero for this awareness campaign. So if you haven't seen this, probably because that's where we focus, but I'll talk about the statewide expansion as well. So here are some of the key components of the effort. You probably are aware of some public awareness campaigns that exist, like the 5 a Day initiative, where eat your vegetables and all that is really good for you, and click it or ticket. So it's a public awareness campaign similar to that, where it's focused specifically on the benefits of broadband. So there's a lot of pre-work that went into designing Get Connected, including focus groups. We had some 8 focus groups that we held in LA County with different populations to find out what some of the barriers were to adoption. Of course, people mentioned cost as one of the key ones, but cost is only one factor in broadband adoption. There are other factors, and namely, a lot of people didn't know what it did. They didn't know the costs of what it costs to, one, have a computer, or what it costs to connect. And more importantly, they didn't see the relevance to their own lives. And it was really, again, just eye-opening to hear from people's real experience, because sort of things that we take for granted in LA County, they were still not getting it. And so we launched this there. Public education is a key component of that, so I'll talk about some of the elements of that. There is a multilingual website that was developed called Get Connected Today. We certainly encourage you to visit that site. And that site was really designed to be that entry-level, what is broadband, what is the internet, what do I do with it? And some of the barriers that came up for people was, how do I stay safe? I know it's important, but I'm really nervous about bringing this technology into my home. How do I keep my family safe? How do I keep my identity safe? And so that was really well addressed in the website. And then through great fortune, we were able to expand this statewide through receiving an hour grant, which I'll talk about as well. So the website was designed in 4 different languages, and so it's available in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Korean. At a click of a button, it'll translate the different content. What was really exciting about this over time was the development of what's called a partner portal. So as we engaged organizations throughout the state and starting in LA County, is that we created a partner portal where we can share information and catalog information and resources so that anybody could be a part of this Get Connected campaign. And so if you had curriculum, if you had materials, if you had flyers, if you had different examples and templates that you wanted to share with others, that's a place to store them and to look for them. And I'll talk about that as well. So the different languages you get to see, some of the languages, and it's, again, not flashy. It's not intended to be that. It really is just that entry level, something you can take a look at, print at the library, and help you make a decision about how to choose a broadband provider and get connected and really take those first steps. Another key strategy to the effort was advertising. We developed PSAs in the different languages as well as radio and TV spots. And so this was, again, a mass market effort in LA County that has gone on. But this was a very intensive media strategy. Part of the media strategy was to drive people to attend a fair. So we would produce the media during the course of a week, encourage people to attend a particular event at the end of the week. We designed these Community Connect fairs as 4-hour events on a Saturday in a particular community. And we invited a number of different organizations and government agencies to be a part of this event. One of the key things is we asked all the different vendors to bring wireless or Wi-Fi enabled devices because we wanted to show people what you do online. So if people were coming for a lot of different reasons, one of which was a computer giveaway, which we offered off every hour. And so people really wanted to come, A, because they wanted to learn, B, because they wanted to get a free computer. And so we held 9 of these in LA County. If you were going to be there for 4 hours because you wanted to win a computer and you knew you were going to win, we also offered training on site. So there were different venues and avenues to provide training for people so that they could really get their first experience really with broadband. And once they get to see, first of all, they can check their kids' grades. We had a number of school districts that came, and the parents were just blown away. They asked, LAUSD was there. They said, come on in, let me show you your parents. And they were, for the first time, seeing that they could see their kids' progress. And they just were blown away by that. The libraries had demonstrations of how to download books, how to reserve books, and demonstrating that, that a lot of this technology is really making their lives easier. And that's why the tagline is Your Life Made Easier, because that's really the point of broadband, is to do that and not make it more complicated. So 9 of these were held in 8 of these in LA County. San Diego hosted our first one in San Diego, which was very well received as well. Here's some of the photos. Here's another collage from one of our largest ones, and had over 1,000 people at MacArthur Park in LA County on July 25th. You see a couple of key elements that are here. The computer giveaway. There's a gentleman in the bottom center. We were giving away desktops. We learned very on that's a bad thing to do when people are coming on the bus, and had to carry that home. So we moved on to netbooks. Again, we learned a lot from this. So as you think about your adoption strategy, and I hope all of you are thinking about that, and you can talk about that. We learned a lot from this effort. But he didn't want to ride. We offered a CBO offered to take him home, but he said, no, I'm going to carry this on the bus, thank you. There's an elected official there, Avila Reyes, who's a councilman in LA, kissing the baby. The elected officials are very engaged with this effort because they themselves see the value of getting their constituents connected, because as you know, all their newsletters are now online. All their information to their constituents is all email. They don't mail the hard newsletter of what's going on in the district. It's all email. So that to the extent that they can connect with their constituents, getting them online is a clear thing that they can sign on to. So CETF was fortunate to have received one of the BTOP grants on broadband awareness and adoption. And so as we were developing the pilot with stimulus funding, broadband adoption awareness became one of the things that was getting funded. So we already had a nice pilot that we wanted to expand statewide. So we applied on behalf of 8 partners. Those are the 8 partners there. And what was great about the way that the program was designed was it allowed for a regional and local adaptation of the content. So you get to see Get Connected Los Angeles was the branding for LA County. Get Connected Fresno. There's Get Connected San Diego, Get Connected Imperial, Get Connected Southeast. I know they were here. And so when in your little flash drive that you got yesterday, a number of different of the elements and templates already are loaded on here for you, including the logo, which is, you'll see your logo here, that'll allow you to say Get Connected El Dorado, Mono, whatever county you're from, you can just grab it. You have a logo ready for your awareness campaign. please use it. If you need help with that, you can let us know. There's also templates on how to engage elected officials, how to do a press release. All the different branding materials are all there for you. If you want to host an event, there's lots of templates, checklists, volunteer forms. All that is there ready to go for you. And if there's something there that's missing, let us know. Or you can check the partner portal. But we really want to have you guys hit the ground running with this new funding. So as an example of this, of how the Get Connected has been modified and adapted to a local region, CETF worked with Sustainable Systems to take the pilot out of LA and expand it to the Bay Area. And so Joe will give you an example of how that was done. Here's just a couple of photos, and I'm sure he'll talk about how now Oakland took it and really ran with it, as well as Alameda County, which resides in Oakland. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Luis. Okay, can you hear me all right? Oh, good morning. Good morning. I have to say that when I saw that we were on at 8:30 in the morning, after a long night, long day and evening yesterday, I'm really pleased and impressed with the turnout. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay, this is as far as I can extend this cord. So what you have here is the first photo that you see here for Get Connected Oakland is the photo of the launch that we had back in April with the mayor proclamation and a number of dignitaries and the like, the organizing committee that was there. The second one on the other side, Get Connected Alameda County Expo, is the one that we just did in November, which was an exposition that was countywide, which we will speak to. A little bit of background. When I took on this project, I went to some of the areas that I worked in the past and talked about what I was doing, and I was given one strong piece of advice: to just show people what needed to happen and to let it go at that in the target communities that we were working with here in the East Bay would not be sufficient. We need to go beyond that. We need to have something more substantive and more long-term. So developing a core service, competency that we could deliver on got to be a key. A second one is that even though it was a 15-month grant, we wanted to be able to sustain this effort. So the idea was how to set something up that was scalable and replicable, that once you have it in motion, the actual maintenance of it is comparatively speaking, relatively easy. So the Get Connected model, it is a strategy. As we talk about here, it is a strategy to be scalable, replicable framework that provides a number of different things. Whole solutions approach, which we'll talk to, forging partnerships between major institutions and community-based organizations, the next point is extremely important. I want to talk about a little bit. The idea is not just to get people connected, but to use the connection, to use digital literacy, use digital connectivity as a vehicle for bridging what we call the opportunity divide. So we put heavy emphasis on that. And then finally, of course, to be sustainable. So what was our whole solutions approach? Well, the heart of it is what we call the broadband orientation experience. And we did a video, which you can actually see if you go to the website, getconnectedoakland.org, and you'll click on the video there. There's an 8.5-minute video that's available both in English and in Spanish that actually gives you a good capsule of the field. It is actually told. The story is told in a series of 5 vignettes that represent disabled, youth, adults, training, all the different components, all the different stories you can think of are inside that particular video. In addition to that, we produced a resource handout, and that handout takes all the information that's available now in terms of where in Oakland, where you can get free Wi-Fi access, where there's free public computer services, where you can get low-cost computers, where you can get technical support, where you can get training of all sorts, where you can get, if you have some sort of a disability, where you can get web accessibility training. All those different kind of components are available on this 2-page handout, which we made available. The third thing we did was we produced actually a web accessibility guide. 1 out of every 6 person has some form of disability, whether it's is visual, is hearing, is speech, is cognitive, it is whatever. And there actually is a 10-page guide that we did in partnership with the Center for Accessible Technology that addresses those issues. So we had that experience, which we moved out very broadly. I'll talk about it next in our partnership models as well. In addition to that, though, we had a 3-hour course that actually takes all the issues that many of the issues that Luis was talking about and compiles them into the course. In this 3-hour training, what happens is you're introduced to computers and all of the accessories with computers. You're introduced to the internet, how to use the internet, and how to surf it, one thing or another, and then how to protect yourself, both in terms of viruses, how to protect yourself in terms of safety issues and the like. Now, you can only do but so much in 3 hours, but the best we can, we get that information out to people. But here comes the real kicker. The real kicker is what we call the Get Connected at Home platform. Because what we do is we then hook people into low-cost computers that have warranty and or tech support, that have access to additional training, that have access to low-cost, high-speed broadband. In other words, the promise is if you go through this training, we will then hook you up with everything that you need, not only to get started, but how to stay connected, and then the support base around it. So we developed that program. Now, we ran it out through the following methods. As we say, call it engage target population via institutions that serve them. These institutions are the major ones. It can be in Oakland, it's Oakland Public Housing Authority, it's Department of Social Services, it is the Alameda County Family Justice Center, and Oakland Unified School District. We reached out into jails, so we're out in Santa Rita Jail. We reached out into the probation departments for when people come outside of jails. We reached out to the libraries. We reached out to the Parks and Recreation. So whether you're talking about the depths of the different populations of all ages, or whether you're talking about citywide, through the libraries, through the Oakland Parks and Recreation, we have outreach in that kind of a way. But what they can provide is a setting. What community-based organizations, faith-based institutions and the like provide as the tools, the means, and the like. So part what we do is set up a partnership using that whole solutions as the basis of it to get our work done. Our next one. Let me give you our accomplishments to date. In Oakland, we have presented the broadband orientation experience, as I described above, to and CETF loves measurements, and so we have measured carefully through November of this year to 41,961 Oakland residents, at least. Probably is larger than that, but that's what I'll stand behind. We have initiated the whole solutions program with the Office of Social Services, with the Family Justice Center, and with the Oakland Housing Authority. We held our launch event, which you saw the picture of, back in April of this year. We held our first roundtable in June, and then we've held two computer help days, serving over 90 people. Then we moved to expand this program to Get Connected Alameda County. And let me set up several things here before I talk about it. In this, we wanted to do two things. One is, as we said, the reason for doing digital inclusion, which is what the adoption work that we do, is to get people to move into the opportunity divides. Education is the key. Education key both in terms of formally and informally. And so what we did was we partnered with the Alameda County Office of Education to do that. The theme for the expo was education, sustainability, and digital technology. The process we used was to do several things. One was, and this speaks directly to you as regional collaboratives, in the challenge for the Alameda County Office of Education, it represents 18 school districts. We saw it as an opportunity to get the parents, the students, the teachers, and the administration of those different 18 school districts to meet together to see what is available. Because Oakland Unified will have parent portals, but someone else doesn't. Emeryville has certain kinds of connectivity between the schools and the rec centers, and in fact, there's an entire community infrastructure that others don't. An opportunity for different people to see what's available. An opportunity also to see that it turns out that the Alameda County Office of Education itself is one of the best kept secrets in this county because it got a tremendous infrastructure. I mean, it provides the backbone, the internet service backbone for 16 of the 18 school districts. I mean, it does all kinds of different kinds of services. So it's an opportunity to showcase all of this. That was one feature. A second key feature we did was we wanted people learn in different ways. So we wanted to present this kind of in-depth knowledge in as many different ways as we could. That's why we did it in terms of booths, traditional booths, in terms of workshops, demonstrations which were led by students. We had professional expertise on site. We did a number of different kinds of things. And then finally, of course, what we did by merging California Emerging Technology Fund with the Alameda County Office of Education is you blended pure expertise in terms of digital inclusion with pure expertise in terms of education. You began to do that content of development of moving people from one to the other. So what does it mean in terms of the regional broadband consortium? How is a model? Well, number one, at the heart of it is a whole solutions approach. So if you're touching families, if you're touching people, you can provide an entire connection which includes all of the support services along with it. At the heart of it, you're just not telling people what to do, you're plugging them into these kinds of things. It is a network of partnerships. And let me use the roundtable as an example of how this worked. The neat thing with the roundtable that we did in Oakland was we had 26 different partner organizations, but they were the whole range. So they ranged all the way from the really large ones. Again, Department of Social Services, Family Justice Center, Oakland Housing Authority, Oakland Unified School District. They serve tens of thousands of folks. Much smaller community-based organization serve much fewer folks, but they provide different kinds of services. What we did was, at the heart of it, in addition to having a collaboration of meeting each other and talking to each other, we did, because we're looking always for structural change and structural input. So what we did what we call gives and gets. We at the basis of that, each organization sat down and talked about, this is what we do, and this is what we were looking for. And we began to partner them with them. And a couple things came out of that, and then we'll wrap with this. One is, right on the spot, the Department of Social Services and Family Justice Center got together on a grant because they both were working on something, and once they learned what each other was doing, they could move, and it turned out to be timely because the grant was due in 2 days, and they were looking for some partnerships, and it worked out well. But the other one, which the example I will give you, which we're working on now, is that the Oakland Housing Authority is seeking to do connectivity for all of its individual residents, to take one of the larger housing projects that has over 300 plus units there, and to get all of them connected on a wireless mesh. and then be able to work with folks to provide the service. So we're working through Get Connected Oakland. We're working with them, one of our CBOs, and with CETF to help provide the infrastructure for doing that. So those are two of the kinds of examples. We think that this particular model of using roundtables and gives and gets is as a partnership is something that can be worked across all forms. And I see my time is up, and thank you very much.
So we'll stay up here for a couple of questions if there are any. The other website to mention is, as I mentioned, what started the CETF began was really a national pilot. And so now with the broadband effort, there's other efforts similar to what's happening here in other states. And so the portal for everybody who's working on broadband awareness and adoption, as well as public computer center work, is digitalliteracy.gov is the other national site. So if you don't find it on our partner portal, definitely do contact us. But that digitalliteracy.gov is also the national portal where a clearinghouse of information, tutorials, videos, other different resources for different types of strategies that are going on throughout the state. So definitely do not reinvent the wheel. If you're looking for curriculum, information, videos, content, check there, check with us. Check your little drive, which we wanted to load up with some of the sort of greatest hits of things that we've done for you. But clearly, if there's a B-side or things that are niche for you, don't reinvent the wheel. Contact us, and it's time to get people connected. If there's any questions, we'll take a couple. If not, we'll turn it back to Gladys. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Trish. Trish has one question. Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to know just how, in terms of the CETF and the work that like Sustainable Systems has done, how will there be opportunities for you to go out in the field? I know you've done some Get Connected workshops too, but I mean, to this next level of taking the model out and working with the other consortia.
So in pre-consortia times, we held what was called regional workshops. So we've held a number of different regional workshops throughout the state where it's a big tent. We just invite anybody and everybody who's interested in learning about broadband and sharing information. As Joe mentioned, the give and got that exists. So if you work with anybody who's interested in reaching the target population, we've had these roundtables. And so we have a whole learning and lessons learned about that. And it really is an amazing cross-section of people who say, look, I have a computer lab, I have no trainers. And someone says, well, I have volunteer trainers, I can do that. And it's been that kind of bringing together a resource in the community that's made a big difference. The exciting pieces of information that are coming down the pike are things like Internet Essentials. That is something new that's come on the radar screen that we brought to the different regions. Now there's other offers that are coming online for affordable computers that are in addition to what's happening with Comcast that we've also made available as well. So those are all the different types of information that if you're working with veterans or a senior center or in a foster care agency, you may not know about the broadband piece because that's not what you do. But you recognize the value for the connectivity, you're just not in that world. So if we can share information about how to host the regional workshop in your area, we'd be happy to talk with you as well. The one plug I'll also mention is that the 211 is a key partner with this effort. So the 211s throughout the state are providing information on how to get connected. Literally, they'll walk people through how to choose a broadband provider. They know how to help people make that decision because we know that's one of those great fears when you pick up the phone, you feel like they're going to sell you, this crazy, crazy speed that you don't need. And people get nervous about that and they hang up and they need that help. So the 211s, where they exist throughout the state, are a resource. They also have a catalog of available hotspots and computer training. So if you're offering computer training, make sure the 211 database knows about that because they will know to refer people to those trainings. And 211s are a great resource. If you don't work with them, as you get your project started, that's definitely one of the key ones to meet are the 211s because they are the connectors. That's what they do. Yes?
Because of time, Joe, you skipped over presenting the outcome of the Alameda County Expo. How successful was it?
guess what number you think?
There are a few events that actually exceed my own expectations, but I have to say that this one did. We wound up with over 1,000 people in attendance, but it's not so much just the numbers, it was the execution. Part of what we did is because we partnered with the Alameda County Office of Education, they actually wound up putting their full resources behind it. So it was one of the best executed events that I have worked with. Actually, there's a couple, one other comment I want to make. The key thing for this model is broader than, digital inclusion is extraordinarily important, but again, it's the issue about getting across the the opportunity divide. So just one thing, if you go back to the fact that what's being envisioned for the East Bay Regional Broadband Consortium is to, in addition to inclusion, to address things like government, economic development, education, and the like. So if you can imagine doing gives and gets, when you're talking about business organizations, economic development organizations, and education organizations to get, I mean, just different kinds of, in that kind of a collaboration, what'll happen is even within businesses that don't typically see themselves as being involved in this field, if you can show them how their collaboration together will allow them to develop a set of infrastructure or services that will enable all of them to be able to compete better in the region, you can facilitate things. So part of what we're looking for in terms of this regional collaboration is serve as a basis for being able to cut across all these different sectors, and then integrating digital inclusion as a piece of this very broader set of sections. So that's what's being set up here, and that's why I'm extremely happy that that the regional collaboration has come about and matured into 3 years of funding to be able to take what has been a pilot and to run it into something that can have a more substantive and transformative kind of effect. Yes.
Focus on results. You can always know how behaviors are changing based on what folks have learned. Is there any way to check back with those people about whether they're using e-government or any of the other?
Only at this point, only we did not set up measures for this, so the only information I'm getting back is anecdotal. Now, I do get anecdotal information, and I get anecdotal information by the questions that get raised with me, or the inquiries that get raised with me by all these different partners, both at the CBO, but at the larger institutions. So when Santa Rita Jail, which actually sees around like 4,000 will roll through there at any one point on a monthly kind of a basis, starts collaborating with us about hooking up certain kinds of things. That gives me important pieces of information and things like that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Luis. Also, to reemphasize, in the drives that you received at registration, there's a whole Get Connected toolkit that you can take and run with. Make it your own and customize it. So just to reemphasize that, that's a resource that you have at your fingertips. So let me switch over. We're going to go now to, quickly, before we break into our smaller groups, the question in the middle of the worksheet, the leadership worksheet. What are the 3 to 5 characteristics of a leader that you think are most important? Sorry, I'm just trying to. There we go. Okay, and if anyone would like to start, just we wanted to. Oh, Revlin's got it. We'll take notes of this, and then we'll add it to our notes as well, and then I'll show a slide that Sunny wanted to end that with, this section with. So, Revlin.
You need a microphone. Microphone.
Team player, willingness to serve, a little closer, clear and concise goals, an open communicator, honest and trustworthy, and dependable and flexible.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Revlin. Anybody else would like to share? Go ahead, Mil. You can use that mic right next near you, yeah. We like shy people.
Good morning.
Go.
I put down able to follow, respectful, knowledgeable, motivating, responsible.
Perfect. Denise, go ahead. Yeah, the mics are wired, but they can be passed.
All right.
It's on.
Is it on? I have the ability to communicate a vision, commitment, passion, and energy. And I have something called strategic leverage, the ability to pick initiatives that will move others toward a vision.
That's great. James, did you want to go?
So I have, in solidarity with you, vision or ability to inspire as the first one. Then strategic intelligence is the second one. Collaboration capability. And then a very important one, engagement with reality. That one often is missed.
I think it's a good balance.
And then finally, an equally important one, a bias toward action.
So vision with reality-based vision. Yeah. Yes.
I have some that also agree with what the others have stated, but I've also included securing long-term sustainability, ensuring a legacy that guarantees inclusivity, collaboration, and partnerships, and ability to step aside for new leadership.
Okay. How about someone? There we are.
Oh, it's a short cord. I'll lean over. I have only one I really want to add, and it's the word humility, which I'd like to give you an operational definition of. It's the recognition of the possibility that I might have something to learn.
At each moment. Yes.
I've got some fairly standard ideas. Knowledge, commitment, enthusiasm, openness, and consistency.
Yes. Any other volunteers before I start calling on people?
Common sense isn't very common.
Go ahead, Alice.
I've just added, excuse me, pull that up. No, I'll just leave it. One who works for the success of those around them, helps them to be successful. And
that's a great one.
Is that even on?
That's a great one. Any others? Sandra. Beautiful. Anything else we've missed? Any other characteristics of leadership that? Go ahead.
Leader needs to be fiscally prudent and has to be accountable.
Very good.
I have one last thing to add, Gladys.
Go ahead.
Purpose. Why are we doing this? Why are we here? Maintaining the clear picture of what the original vision was in the first place.
Eye on the prize. Anyone else?
Would you repeat that?
Is competence, just pure core competence in one field within itself, and then understanding the need to bring in people who have competence in other areas that need to be other areas to fulfill it all the way up.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the books that Sunny usually references during this is resource reference from Dr. Barry Posner of Santa Clara University and Dr. James Kouzis, I think I'm butchering that name, from TPG Learning Systems, and they've both done these studies on leadership. And so I'll end here and leave you with their definition of leadership: the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations, challenging, inspiring, enabling, modeling, and encouraging. Okay? So that will be included in our notes, and thank you. Let's see. So now we're going to break into our smaller groups to discuss the questions on the agenda. And the questions there are, let's see, what are the effective ways to launch a regional consortium to attract public awareness and sustain engagement? What governance and organizational practices will optimize participation and minimize confusion? What outreach to local public officials and other stakeholders should be planned for the coming year? So the idea here is to get together with others that you don't know. And maybe we've got about roughly 60 people in the room, so I think are groups of 10 too big? Should we make it smaller?
Yes.
8?
I'd go with 6.
Go for 6? Yep. Okay, so if you could cluster yourselves around the room if you need to, maybe if groups, if we run out of room here, I think we can go out to the mezzanine. There are other meetings going on, so it might be a little difficult, but if we can try to keep it here, that would be great. If we have to take it out a little bit, we can do that as well. So if you could arrange amongst yourself to cluster around 6 people that you're not familiar with, we'll get started. And we have... that you are not familiar with.